Morning, Guelph. My name is Mark Peralivas, and that rhymes with for all of us. And I'm the People's Party candidate for the federal election this October. I hope you vote for me. Today I'm going to talk to you about the least sexy platform plank in the People's Party platform, and that is supply management. And I don't know why it's unsexy or boring or something that people really want to fight over. But I think that there's a lot of interesting stories that come out of this. There's cross-border mafias, cheese mafias, and milk barons, and all sorts of crazy stuff. But you don't hear about it too much in the paper. But today I'm going to show you. And I'm going to show you how much it will cost to unwind this program and the benefits of potentially unwinding it. A growing milk market, an export market for milk, an export market for milk farmers. Wouldn't that be beneficial? Wouldn't that increase the potential customer base and thereby increase their potential profit? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, the People's Party platform is here. And it says, quote, issues. Supply management is a government-imposed cartel that keeps the prices of dairy, poultry, and eggs artificially high through the control of production. The banning of imports, price fixing, and the prevention of competition in the market. The system forces producers to buy quotas, which grant permission to produce a set amount. For example, it costs between $20,000 and $40,000 to get the right to milk one cow. It keeps out imports by imposing exorbitant tariffs that range from 150% for eggs to 300% for butter. Because our market is closed to most imports, our farmers are not allowed to export their products. Supply management negatively impacts other sectors of our economy. Businesses in the food processing and food preparation sector, like restaurants, are forced to pay more for basic products and are therefore less competitive. Although they account for only about 10% of all Canadian farms, farmers under supply management constitute one of the most influential lobbies in Ottawa. When Canada negotiates a free trade agreement with other countries, protecting the system always ends up as the focus of the talks. Canada could have obtained a better deal during the negotiations with the US and Mexico to renew NAFTA if we had put supply management on the table as demanded by the US government. In order to satisfy one small but powerful lobby, we restrict the development of other businesses and prevent the creation of thousands of jobs in other sectors. Facts. According to the OECD, Canadian consumers had to pay $3.6 billion more every year between 2011 and 2015 for all products under supply management. A study done by University of Manitoba economists showed that the system imposed a financial burden of $339 annually on the poorest 20% of Canadian households, which is the equivalent of a 2.3% tax on their incomes. The market value of quotas was estimated at $35 billion in 2016, but that's not what it would cost the government to buy them back if it decided to abolish the system. The accounting value of quotas after depreciation would form the basic for compensation. Farmers who bought them recently would be reimbursed close to the market value, while those who bought them at a lower price years ago would get less, and those who got them for free would get nothing. The Conference Board of Canada estimated such a buyout would cost between $3.6 billion and $4.7 billion in total. Our plan. The supply management system is inefficient and fundamentally unfair to consumers, farmers, and other sectors of our economy. A People's Party government will create a free, open, and fair system that will save Canadians billions of dollars annually thanks to the lower prices they will pay for the products. Phase out the supply management system over a number of years to allow farmers to adapt and compensate them for lost value of their quotas. Allow Canada's dairy, eggs, and poultry farmers to thrive and sell their products internationally. Okay, great. So that's the platform and that's the plan, but I wanted to show you some news articles about what actually happens, the real life implications of our dairy and our dairy cartel, our supply management system, and on the ground. What happens? What do businesses do? Businesses thrive on 1%, 2% markets, right? We're talking about a very, very razor thin profit margin. If you're on if you're on a border city, and you have the ability to maybe cut your prices cut your costs by enough that you would consider maybe importing American cheese, right? Crazy. Here's Quartz reporting. Link is in the description if you want to read for yourself. The US-Canada fight over dairy exposes an inconvenient truth about free markets. Interesting. As black markets go, Canada has a pretty weird one. Every so often, authorities bust cheese barons and mozzarella mafias, smugglers bent on turning a profit on bricks of cheap foreign cheese. Other Canadian behaviors concerning dairy are legal, but just as strange. Around Christmas every year, Newfoundlanders are known to hoard something called fussels. thick cream, an obscure imported tin cream traditionally slapped atop pies and into cherry cake batter. And let's not forget the great butter panic of winter 2015 when the Canadian government authorized the importing of nearly 8.8 million pounds of emergency foreign butter. In the frenzy of Yuletide baking, Canadians had simply eaten the domestic supply up. There are some of the many downsides of a regulatory system in which the government tightly controls an industry. The Canadian government limits the amount that dairy farmers produce, sets the prices, and blocks most imports. There's a big upside to Canada's cow-based command economy, however. The stable dairy prices keep the industry consistently profitable and allow small farmers to thrive. Interesting, right? Cheese barons, what does that mean? Here's a news article from 2014. It says British Columbia cheese baron fined $25,000 for illegal smuggling operation. Crazy. A Burnaby food importer has been fined $25,000 for illegally importing thousands of kilograms of cheese and evading more than $460,000 in duties. The fine was imposed after Manuel del Oliveira, the owner of Bira Mar Imports Company Limited, pled guilty to willful evasion or attempted evasion of duties and to importing or attempting to import dairy products without an import declaration. I scroll down. He illegally imported a total of 18,725 kilograms of cheese, worth an estimated $188,000 US, and representing an evasion of $461,000 in duties. While he underreported the cheese, he would obtain two invoices, one showing the correct amount and value and one showing the lesser amount and value. The cheese, mainly from Portugal, was transported through the United States into Canada. Under Canada's highly regulated dairy industry, importers of cheese get a permit to import a set amount at a very low rate of duty. Imports above that rate are subject to a 245% duty. Wow, that's big. Here's another one from 2012. Niagara Regional Police in alleged cheese smuggling controversy. Dogged by allegations of anabolic drug use and smuggling among Niagara Regional Police officers, the force now finds itself at the center of an alleged cheese smuggling controversy. The force admits to investigating internally the actions of some of its officers with respect to steroid use and possible trafficking in performance-enhancing drugs, and now CBC News has reported that some of the officers have been implicated in the smuggling of cheese from the U.S., which they then attempt to peddle to regional pizzerias. Police will confirm the internal drug use probe, but are refusing to say anything about the cheese smuggling. I scroll down a bit. Albert Zabatelli, who runs Zappis Pizzeria in Niagara Falls, told the Star that while much cheaper brand name U.S. cheese might be tempting to some, he took a pass. I scroll down a little bit. A couple of years ago, the offers of smuggled cheese were really strong, but it seems to have fallen off now. I'm sure that it will start again, though, he said, adding that no police officers, as far as he knew, ever approached him. Mario Sebastiano, owner of Super Mario's Pizza in Port Colborne, said he too was approached 2 years ago by a, quote, white guy offering to sell him bricks of mozzarella cheese, but I don't know if he was police. Quote, he came in asking me if I wanted to buy some cheese that he got from the States, and I said, not really, he said. Sebastiano said much later he tried a sample of the same cheese he purchased in the U.S. and, quote, I got heck at the bridge and I found it to be inferior. He noted that he pays $10.85 a kilo for his cheese, quote, so it's expensive compared to the $10.25 in the States for a much larger brick. All right. Here's another one from 2019. This is May 2019. Man fined $30,000 for smuggling 4,000 kilograms of cheese into Canada. A man charged with a $30,000 fine for attempting to smuggle thousands of kilograms of cheese through the Canadian border. Hissam Azar, 50, was caught with about 990 kilograms of cheese at the Thousand Islands border crossing in Lansdowne, Ontario on January 10, 2018, according to a news release published by the Canadian Border Services Agency. When CBSA officials referred Azar for a secondary examination, they found 8 skids of undeclared cheese. He was arrested and charged for failing to mark improper goods under Section 159 of the Customs Act. Azar pled guilty and was sentenced at the court in Brockville, Ontario. On May 9, 2019, he was ordered to pay a $30,000 fine, which he must pay back within 5 years, a minimum payment of $1,000 a year. I scroll down a little bit. Canada requires a permit and charges pricey tariffs for importers who want to import cheese into Canada. Individuals are allowed to bring up to $20 worth of dairy products into the country. So people do try and cut corners. In 2016, an importer from Burnaby, BC was fined $25,000 for illegally importing 18,725 kilograms of cheese over a 5-year period, evading $461,000 in duties. And we looked at that before. And here's the Fraser Institute. I believe it's a right-wing study or think tank, whatever. But they look at the phasing out of Australia's dairy or supply management industry, and we're just going to have a look at it because it's informative. Other countries have done this and done this successfully. So it's worth looking at. Here we go. Phasing out of supply management, lessons from Australia's dairy industry. Australia's dairy industry has a long history of government support and control. From the 1920s to the end of the 20th century, a succession of state and federal governments sought to stabilize the supply and price of milk, butter, and cheese, and as a result, encouraged the production of drinking milk over milk for further processing. This resulted in higher prices for consumers. After deregulation of the industry in 2000, prices for fresh milk fell, and producers are now able to interpret global price signals and adjust their investment and planned output based on real-world demand, rather than face the inefficiencies, rigidity, and perverse incentives associated with government control. I scroll down a little bit. This paragraph talks about reforms, but I don't know that the details are necessary at this point. So here we go. The result of these reforms have been unambiguously positive. Consumers have benefited from lower prices for fresh milk, with prices falling by 12 cents per liter immediately following deregulation. Farms have received consistently rising farm gate prices, which have risen by 56% since deregulation in 2000. Fewer, larger farms are driving greater productivity. The national milk supply has been maintained, and the size of the national dairy herd has stabilized in what is an ongoing consolidation rather than shrinking of an ever more productive industry. Dairy deregulation has enabled the Australian dairy industry to be reconfigured so producers can respond in an efficient way to supply and demand. The Australian dairy industry now exports almost half of its output, making dairy the third most important agricultural export after beef and wheat, and bringing in export earnings of about $3 billion per year. The flexibility and market orientation of the industry has positioned Australian dairy producers to take advantage of the falling tariffs in the Asian Pacific region, driven by the Comprehensive Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, CTPPP. Only 2 Ps, not 3. And potential liberalization of UK trade policy following Brexit. The Australian example is instructive for Canada and other major dairy producing nations. So I find that interesting. I find it instructive, and I find it even more interesting that Mr. Bernier and the People's Party is the only political party seriously looking at making big changes to modernize Canada's ability to respond to global market signals. It makes no sense to have this supply management in place when our biggest trading partner, the United States, wants to trade with us. We can increase our dairy farmers' output and create an industry. I mean, canola oil and canola was a $30 billion industry exporting to China. Can we not do something similar with milk? And I don't necessarily think $30 billion is realistic, but Australia has a $3 billion milk export industry. Is that not something to aim for? Is that not improving our farmers' ability to respond to the market? Is that not improving our farmers' ability to access markets and increase their potential customer base rather than the market of having to have $40,000 ready to milk a cow? It seems like a common sense approach to modernizing Canada. And I think that Mr. Bernier's got the right idea. So I'm proud to be the People's Party candidate. Again, my name is Mark Peralivas. That rhymes with for all of us. I hope you vote for me in October. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca. Check out ppcguelph.ca and help us out. Thanks very much.